We have said for weeks now that we will not accept a short-term increase to the debt. We just can't do that. And now, from what I learned from the two Democratic leaders in the House, they put even more stuff in this right-wing leaning bill that is called the Boehner Plan. It's really hard to comprehend the confusion that they've had over there and they're still having today. It's really time that they legislate. As we know, they're having trouble doing that. They've changed this so many times, it should be fairly easy to get the votes now. They've basically given the right way even more than what they had before. The Senate, we have proposed compromise. As Fred Thompson said, the Republicans have gotten what they wanted. They should put their chips in their pockets and go home, declare victory. It's really what we have now as our amendment is one that reduces the debt, extends the debt ceiling until March of 2013. CBO has scored it. It's raised the number to over $2.4 trillion. So it's a real compromise directed toward the Republicans. So I'm going to, today, as I did on the floor this morning, ask my Republican colleagues, starting with Senator McConnell, give me some ideas as to what you think would improve my legislation. Keeping in mind, as I've said on the floor, there will be no agreement if it's a short-term extension. We're not going to do that. And my caucus supports that fully. Right now, this is the only compromise there is. Obviously, what is being done in the House is not a compromise. It's being jammed through that with all kinds of non-transparent dealings, people shuffling in and out of the Republican leadership's offices. So we're recognizing the only compromise that there is mine. Ours is truly a bipartisan piece of legislation. And the Republicans realize that. I've had a number of Republicans come to me. I had one Republican come and say, thanks for your legislation. We had meetings with a number of Republicans last night, various of my senators, and they feel concerned that we're not arriving at a compromise more so than what we have now. And we want to do that. I repeat, I've asked my friend Senator McConnell to meet with me to try to work this out. And I'm confident he will, I hope, come back with some suggestions that he has. The stakes couldn't be higher. The security of our nation, literally the security of our nation, every family is at stake here. If the debt ceiling is not increased, every American family will feel an increase in their taxes in various ways, higher payments on all their debts, credit cards, loans they've taken out to put their kids through school, car payments, mortgages on their houses. So I say to my Republican colleagues here in the Senate, do the right thing. Put the interest of the country ahead of the Tea Party extremists. They're the ones driving that. They're all in town. That's what all the news said. They came. They've made all these demands. The people that we all represent want us to come together in a bipartisan method. Compromise is not a bad word. So it's time for us to act together, and we hold our arms out to my Republican colleagues to visit with me, talk to me how we can strengthen my legislation. Senator Durbin?
Thank you, Senator Reid. On Monday night, we had an announcement and a message to the United States from Speaker John Boehner. Remember what he told us? He had a bipartisan plan that he was going to pass in the House of Representatives. What happened on Tuesday? It turned out it wasn't bipartisan. The only negotiation underway this entire week by Speaker Boehner has been with other Republicans, and he didn't have a plan. By Tuesday, they announced they couldn't call a vote. Well, maybe Wednesday. No, on Wednesday they couldn't call a vote. And then on Thursday again, they failed to have the majority to call a vote. And so we waited until late last night, and now we're told that sometime later today, Speaker Boehner may have rounded up enough Republican votes to pass his plan. It's clearly not bipartisan, and when you look closely at it, it's not right for America. Because in negotiating with the most extreme voices in his caucus, he is now moving to positions that are almost indescribable. The latest report we have is that to win the last holdouts on the Tea Party, he had to agree to a significant and historic change. Not enough that they're willing to hold our economy hostage with the debt ceiling extension. Not enough that we stop the workings of this government on so many issues that we should be working on. But now the Speaker has brought in the requirement that to extend the debt ceiling, we have to amend the Constitution of the United States of America. This is the most outrageous suggestion I have heard. To think that those of us who have sworn to uphold this Constitution would allow this to become a bargaining chip by Speaker Boehner to win the most extreme members of his caucus. To say that we cannot move the economy of this country forward and this nation forward without changing our Constitution as a requirement in law? Well, I wish Robert Byrd were still here. He would be on that floor with his Constitution in hand and remind people about the humility we should show when it comes to this great document. Well, there has to be another way. And the way to approach this in a responsible, bipartisan way is to start with Majority Leader Reid's suggestion that we come together on a bipartisan basis in the Senate. He is offering his measure and an olive branch to Senator McConnell and the Republicans to work together for a bipartisan solution that is sensible and timely and that moves forward. I hope that Senator McConnell will join him. I hope that we can find that path forward. We do not want to put America through this every 3, 4, 5, or 6 months. We owe it to the people we represent and to the economy and to the Constitution to do much better.
Senator Schumer.
Well, thank you. And I want to thank Senator Reid for his leadership during these difficult times. With only 4 days until a catastrophic default, the House continues to waste time. The Senate cannot afford to wait on the House any longer. Speaker Boehner should just give it up. He throws piece after piece after piece of red meat to the right-wing lion that seems to dominate his caucus. Well, it's time he tamed that lion for the good of the country. To get his conservatives back on the reservation at this point, he's adding all kinds of unrealistic poison pills to his plan. His new plan, requiring that each House of Congress not vote on but pass a balanced budget amendment before any debt ceiling is raised, will guarantee a default. It wouldn't just make a default likely, it will guarantee a default. So the Boehner proposal says we won't default now, but we promise you we will default by January. It is an absurd, absurd proposition, and it's hard to believe that outside the confines of that House caucus, anyone takes it seriously. Only the Senate plan provides hope for a way out of this impasse. Later today, Senator Reid will set in plan a motion for a late weekend vote on the Senate plan as the last best option to avert a default. Since it will be the last train leaving the station, we expect Senate Republicans to give it a long, careful look. It would be hard to imagine that the Republicans in the Senate would actually filibuster the nation into a default. Leader McConnell has kept a low profile in recent days out of loyalty to Speaker Boehner, but he now needs to step up and help move the process forward. The time for providing cover for the Speaker is over. A nation hangs in the balance. We need Senator McConnell to become engaged. The ball is in his court and only in his court. We hope a deal can be had by day's end. But if not, Senator Reid is right to move ahead with his plan, which already is a compromise it gives the Republicans the two major things they asked for: no revenues and enough cuts to equal the amount we raised the debt ceiling. This would set up a vote just after midnight on Saturday night. That vote will be the vote to avert default. A yes vote is a vote to be responsible. A no vote will be a vote for economic catastrophe.